Welcome to a Satluj TV News special. Back in October last year, I interviewed a Khalistani activist and Sikh campaigner who's worked tirelessly on behalf of Sikh Youth UK to raise awareness of so many issues relevant to the community. Whether it was transnational repression, India's likely killing of Avtar Singh Kandar, or indeed the current arbitrary detention and torture of British citizen Jagtar Singh Johal, Deepa Singh has been a high-profile figure in the ongoing fight against oppression and injustice of both the Indian government and, strangely enough, even our own government here in the UK, working in collusion with India. As a result, Deepa found himself targeted by the British Counter Terrorism Unit and indeed the West Midlands Police, determined to silence him at any price. Well, it turned out that price was £2 million. The cost of a massive operation launched 7 years ago to, in the words of a counter-terrorism officer's own words, to specifically nail Sikh Youth UK. After raiding Deepa's home and those of several others in 2018, Deepa has endured years of intimidation, harassment and targeting by a small core of the West Midlands Police determined to silence his activities through any legal means. And so, after finally being found guilty of fraud charges under the Charity Commission, Deepa and his sister Rajbinder Kaur were due to be sentenced yesterday for a relatively small crime, from where I joined the growing gathering of supporters. So it's a cold January morning here in Birmingham, just outside the Crown Court, and very shortly Deepa Singh will be appearing. He was found guilty last year of accounting fraud under the Charity Commission, and he's appearing here today to be sentenced on this cold morning. And turning up in support are going to be various organisations from within the Sikh community and indeed outside the Sikh community. There is expected to be quite a large gathering of people just to highlight the potential that there is a bigger agenda at play here, clearly, as we've covered under Satluj. And the belief is that the gathering will indeed highlight the plight and the bigger agenda that the British establishment clearly have Deepa Singh and his organisation, Sikh Youth UK, as a bit of a target. So hopefully shortly Deepa will be arriving. We'll have a few words with Deepa and we'll see the other organisations that will turn up in support. So, was this guilty verdict a victory for the West Midlands Police and justice? Maybe so, but judging from the turnout in support for Deepa and Rajbinder, a different message became the mainstream narrative. As the community rallied round massively in support of both activists, their charitable work and indeed the injustices against the whole Sikh community, it became quickly clear yesterday's event was more than the culmination of a simple legal process. It was in fact a powerful public opportunity for leading figures in the community to speak out publicly against what they called a deliberately targeted political act against British Sikhs. Before going into court, Deepa warned the British establishment would now come after others.
I would have spoken out earlier and I would say a lot more, but legal implications I can't. But that's all I'll say. There'll be a family statement coming in after. We're in at 2. I want to just thank you all for coming, showing support. I know a lot of you have travelled from up and down the country and took time off. These disruptions that they kept on doing and changing the dates and times, they're not our fault. So do accept our apologies on that, but it wasn't our fault. It's the legal judicial system that they keep putting these disruptions there. They've done it for 7 years. They raided us in 2018, and today we're looking at sentencing. 7 years of this strategy of their disruption to stop us and silence us. And I won't be the only one. There'll be others, organisations they're targeting. But because we spoke up about Jaggi, and Jaggi's been named on my indictment, as we've made public, you all know that's the main reason why they're trying to silence us. We're the only ones speaking up for Jaggi, and everyone here needs to start speaking up for Jaggi. That's the be-all and end-all. But for today, we need to push the bus narrative. You can't let them win. They might have won in their kachari, but we won in our kacharia. We'll always win in our kacharia. These kacharia don't mean nothing to us.
And highlighting how personal the operation had impacted the family, Rajbinder followed Deepa to address the large gathering, and in a tearful address with voice breaking, it was clear the dreadful toll events had taken upon her. And Deepa did indeed manage to have a few personal words prior to going into the court to hear his sentence. When asked what he thought about the guilty verdict, he remained characteristically defiant.
This verdict in this court don't mean nothing to me. Yeah, I don't believe in these Kajaria, I never will. I did no comment in my police interview, and I didn't take the stand in the dock because I don't man these Kajaria. I'm on the Sangat's Kajari, and obviously the Sangat know after the sentencing we'll release a statement from the family which will show how much the Sangat meant to us over the last few months and what we've done with the Sangat and what we presented to the Sangat, the true facts.
Deepa then went on to describe how he had effectively been deliberately targeted by West Midlands Counter Terrorism.
We got to this point because I was entrapped on an email in November 2018, and that email was sent by West Midlands Counter Terrorism Unit to the Charity Commission. This is after we banned them from all Gurdwara and all Bantik stages. The reason we banned them is because they raided us illegally on September the 18th, 2018, under terrorism laws and fraud. They were looking for money and they were looking to substantiate a conviction against Jagtar Singh Johal, and we have opposed that. We stood against them. Not only did we stand against them, we removed them and their Sikh officers from the Gurdwara when they were doing the recruitment drive. We wouldn't remove anyone in their personal capacity, but we removed them for those reasons. That's why we are here today, and that's why it took so long. 7 years, 2018 we were raided, 7 years later I'm being sentenced, 7 years of prevent disruptions, Schedule 7 stops, countless reports, government profiling on Bantik Sikh activists.
And as we've often talked about on our channel, Deepa confirmed his belief it was his ongoing support for Khalistan and the ongoing torture and arbitrary detention of Jagtar Singh Johal that had ignited such persecution by the British state against himself.
Definitely, 100%. We've internationally set up a Khalistan football team, which was a thorn to them. We've done so much prachar on Jaggi to the extent that in the government prevent review, they said that there's a small minority, which you can see the majority of the Bantik Jathebandi here and Gurdwara platforms, that we're a minority. We're not a minority, we are a majority, and the reason they put that in the prevent review is to highlight that we've always said there's a collusion between India and UK, and we've been a thorn for them for that reason, because of our high profiling and high support of Jagtar Singh Johal.
Asked if he would have done anything differently, knowing he would eventually end up in the dock, his message remained clear.
No, we would do more if I knew it would get this. However, for legal implications, more how they've took it very personally. They've done this entrapment email on me. I've responded to the email. They've vilified my sister because they know there's no finances in my name. So they've gone for her. They've made it very personal. It's a personal attack. It's to vilify me, assassinate our character, and to silence us. That's the freedom of speech. This UK government are the silencers. They work very, very sophisticatedly in the way that they're doing this conviction. That's how it's very sophisticated in the tactics they've used in this. And a clear-cut example of that is when there was table talk between certain Gurdwara Sikh people, Sikh community figures, and the West Midlands Police. They've admitted to sharing intel on us to India, and they've said just get Deepa to plead guilty to his sister's charges. That's what they've said. These are Sikh officers posing in the community, playing double agent, and they're counter-terrorism officers. So them working as prevent in the community is destabilising us, and we all need to open our eyes to this.
And as he prepared to take what could well be his final walk of freedom for his foreseeable future into the courthouse to face sentencing, Deepa had a powerful final message to the British government.
Yeah, you killed Khanda, you tortured Jaggi, you're part of this collusion. and we're going to carry on speaking up. Yeah, you did it in 1984 and you're doing it still to this day. Yeah, your cover-ups aren't going to get hidden anymore. Everyone here is going to be speaking up against you. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Shortly after, Deepa and his sister disappeared into the Crown Court to hear their fate, whilst the gathering outside discussed his plight. Despite the freezing temperatures, feelings were running high as organisation leaders remained determined to ensure Deepa and his sister's plight remained forefront, and the fact his verdict was just a small part of a larger campaign by the British government to silence the Sikh community under pressure from the Indian government. At least 50 supporters from various Sikh organisations were represented outside, many carrying banners and placards and keen to talk to the small number of gathering media. There, I spoke with Baljit Singh of Sikh Youth Federation. So we're outside Birmingham Crown Court, and the big question is, Deepa Singh, on the face of it, it looked a pretty open and shut case, according to all the news reports. It was a simple charity fraud, wasn't it? He's been found guilty of it.
Well, I think there's a much wider context to what's happening today. This sentencing is a small part of a wider campaign that's targeting Sikh activists.
So do you think it's part of a bigger picture? There is a wider agenda at play here?
Definitely. I mean, this sentencing stems from assassinations that took place in 2016 in Punjab. The Indian authorities alleged that the support was being received from the UK and amongst other countries. And the Indian authorities have always been pressurising the UK government to try and curb Sikh activism, especially for Khalistan. And after the detention of Jagtar Singh Johal, Kuldeep Singh and the Sikh Youth UK have been at the forefront of protests and demonstrations against that in the UK, and in particular exposing the UK's role in the arrest of Jagtar Singh. Following this, we have the raids of 5 Sikh activists, which include Kuldeep Singh, and those raids were in order to try and prove the allegation of the Indian authorities that he was in somehow supporting what was happening in Punjab. There was no evidence of that, and then following that investigation, we see the conviction and sentencing today on the basis of charity regulations, which was retrospectively applied to the Sikh Youth UK, which was never a charitable organisation. If you look at the sentencing, the trial, there's no one that was at the trial who was aggrieved. There's no one that was defrauded. This organisation was set up to support the Sikh community. The Sikh community was the one that supported it. That was a benefactor. That made up its ranks in terms of volunteers and members. And the Sikh community, as we can see here, represented by various different organisations and other faith organisations and human rights organisations too, are completely with one voice consistent in our understanding of what this is really about, and the fact that Deepa Singh has only done great work in the UK.
He's been linked to the case of Jagtar Singh Johal, who of course has been detained for over 7 years now in Punjab. Do you think his very active campaigning has upset the British establishment, and do you think that is a reason behind perhaps his persecution?
Definitely, and I believe in the most recent statement that was put out by the Sikh Youth UK, they provided links to the Prevent publications from the government, in which they were directly addressing claims that were made by Sikh Youth UK that the British government had colluded, and they called it like a false narrative, and we have evidence of that. But it shows that Kuldeep Singh and Sikh Youth UK and Sikh activists in a wider sense have been on the radar of the British authorities.
And Deepa himself has said that he actually overheard a counter terrorism officer saying that we will nail Sikh Youth UK. Do you think they have nailed him?
I don't think they've nailed him. In regards to the Sikh Sangharsh, the Sikh struggle, jail sentences are generally lauded. It's a contribution. It's considered a contribution to the struggle.
So in terms of the case itself,
the CTU tried to nail him.
Yeah. So, but in terms of the case itself, there have been claims that there were certain, should we say, legal irregularities that were raised within the actual hearing itself. Do you think it was a fair case? Do you think he received a fair trial, or do you think there were legal irregularities?
I think there's questions that could be made about the defence. I think that's an internal discussion that's going to take place about what could have been done better. But in regards to the sentencing, I've got no doubt that's going to be based on solid law and regulations and jurisprudence. However, it's the political motivation of this case that we're questioning.
And talking about politics, of course, he has been a very active campaigner for the Khalistan cause. Do you think that has also played a part here? Do you think the British establishment is running away from the whole Khalistan idea and concept?
The British establishment has never been supportive of the Khalistan Sangharsh. It goes against their ethos, it goes against the notion of state and society that they have themselves. The creation of a state such as Khalistan would be at odds with the capitalist system that the UK and also its foreign policy.
Do you think the British establishment has a lot to hide, and this is part of that whole process to try and bury anybody trying to uncover what they are hiding or potentially hiding?
I don't think it's about them trying to hide anything. I think it's as simple and petty as them trying to appease the Indian authorities. Every time the Sikhs raise their voice in the UK, the Indian authorities put pressure on the UK government, and they've been doing that since 1984, where there was the Nagar Kirtan that was going to be taken out in November, that was cancelled by the government under pressure from the Indian authorities. So we've seen this. So the clickbait journalism and that's been proliferating in this country. They might fall for these stories, but we've seen these kind of attacks against Sikh activism for decades now. And like I said before, the support that you see here today shows that we reject that decision.
And as for Deepa himself, looking forward, of course, he's expecting a custodial sentence today. What do you think is going to happen to Deepa after this? Do you think he will pare back his activism, his campaigning, or do you think this will stiffen his backbone towards it?
I think Deepa is going to take solace from the Guru as he did yesterday. I know that before attending a court, he's gone to the true court of the King of Kings, and I don't think he's going to be faced by any decision that's made by this court.
And in terms of the wider Sikh community, and particularly here locally in Birmingham, they of course are turning out here in great numbers, and of course they are here supporting Deepa. How do you think, what is the feeling amongst the community locally about, firstly, the West Midlands Police and their attitude to them, and of course the case today?
Well, there's been a great rift between the police in this country and the Sikhs for a number of years, which led to actually a declaration, a decision made by Sikh organisations across the UK to ban any form of presence for the Sikh police within the Sikh Gurdwara, and that's going to continue. That opposition to the police is going to continue as long as their collusion with India continues.
As the hours drew on, tensions mounted as everyone awaited news of the sentencing. A large group gathered around as the results were texted from inside the courtroom. Finally, after several delays as the gathering of supporters awaited tirelessly, the sentencing was announced. Deepa Singh was given a suspended 4-month sentence. In fact, a relief, it was not a custodial sentence. However, Rajbinder was not so lucky. As news came through, she was to face a custodial sentence of 2 years and 8 months. A devastating blow to both her family, and of course to Deepa himself. Before Deepa re-emerged, a statement he had written was read out to the large gathering of supporters.
Deepa Singh has had a 4-month suspended sentence, and his sister's been sentenced to 2 years and 8 months. We have a statement here on behalf of Sikh Youth UK that I'll read now. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Today's sentencing of Deepa Singh and his sister Raj Kaur at Birmingham Crown Court marks a deliberate attempt to undermine Sikh activism and the work of Sikh Youth UK. This case is not about individual wrongdoing. It is a concerted effort to discredit Sikh resistance here in the UK and globally, especially those advocating for justice in Punjab and the right of Sikhs to pursue self-determination. This trial, whilst focused on individuals, is part of a much larger reality of resistance and repression, one that extends from the streets of the UK to the fields of Punjab. This hearing has roots stretching back to the unlawful detention of Jagtar Singh Johal in India in 2017, followed by coordinated raids against Sikh activists in the UK in 2018, and the failed attempt at extraditing Sikhs in 2020. These actions, carried out under the guise of counter-terrorism, were part of a broader campaign to stifle Sikh activism surrounding Khalistan and to intimidate those advocating for justice for Jagtar Singh Jaggi, who remains arbitrarily imprisoned and tortured. This sentencing is not about justice or fairness. It is about silencing those who speak out against Indian state oppression. The case of Jagtar Singh, a young Scottish Sikh abducted in Punjab and subjected to torture, is a chilling example of how far these efforts extend. Jaggi's plight underscores the transnational repression faced by Sikhs, facilitated by collaboration between UK and India governments. The connection is clear. The UK's counter-terrorism apparatus is being weaponized against the Sikh community, acting in concert with Indian state interests. Reports such as Sacrificing Sikhs have revealed the UK's role in suppressing Sikh activism, from SAS involvement in 1984 to surveillance and crackdowns on activists in the diaspora. The pattern remains unchanged. Today's sentencing is the latest chapter in this ongoing collusion that the UK government has downplayed and denied. This sentencing should inspire, not dishearten us. Only those that walk on the path face such difficulties. Our struggle is not confined to courtrooms or campaigns. Our struggle is a much larger struggle, an eternal struggle. And we are proud to have been able to contribute to causes that matter, from social issues to political issues. We are proud to support the Sikh Panth and will continue to strive to honour our shaheeds. Our ardas is that we remain grounded in the teachings of our Guru to always stand for truth and justice. We call on Sikh Naujawan to remain steadfast, educate yourselves about our history and our ongoing struggle, contribute to Panthic activism and contribute to stand in solidarity with each other. We thank our families, friends, Sangat, Gurdwara and Panthic Jathebandiyan for their unwavering support. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Khalistan! Zindabad! Khalistan! Zindabad! Khalistan! Zindabad! Khalistan! Zindabad! Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
And finally, with passionate cries of Bole Sonihal and Khalistan Zindabad, the gathered crowd made their feelings very clear. Deepa Singh and Rajbinder Kaur's sacrifice for the cause has indeed not disheartened, but massively inspired the Sangat. And more importantly, the key message to the British public has found a wider audience. The Sikh community will never bow down to oppression or injustice, whether from India or indeed from our own British government. A powerful lesson that our establishment should maybe start taking a little more seriously. You've been watching a Satellite TV News special. I will see you next time.